Welcome to the penultimate video on my parents' lives. After 35 years in Swansea, they're finally moving to Cirencester. At the beginning of 2001, my parents were still in Swansea, though they knew it was time to move closer to family. Only Janet was in Wales and she was busy with her church, but they'd been coming up to Cirencester a lot here for Christmas. Dad was about 83 and Mum moving on to 76. Even their baby David was now 36. But the big attraction was being close to two lots of grandchildren, Megan and Siobhan, and my three boys. And that meant Mum was instantly busy. Here she is babysitting and going to celebratory meals at Pizza Express with dough balls flying through the air. It became apparent that they needed to move quickly, though. Dad had a bowel cancer operation, which was a big success, so that he came down first. And then Mum followed for a hip operation, and pretty soon she was walking around Cirencester. They made friends in Abbey Grounds. This kitchen was designed by their architect friends. The move was a success.
Have you finished?
Come down then, you come down, I can't lift it up. Just a bit more.
That's it. Feed them neat cream.
Come on, and sugar.
Cream and sugar.
Daniel. Look at his face, John.
Daniel, you get a bit more in there.
Daniel.
Oh, look at that.
Hey, hey. Have you finished? Oh, you've done well, Thomas.
Mum loved her grandchildren and her grandchildren loved her. She had her own independent relationship with all of them and saw them grow up.
And grandchildren, thank you very much for organising this birthday party. And it's been a very happy day with a smile on all our faces, and I hope you'll long remember it. And I'm also very glad that my senior cousin, who tells me he's the patriarch of the family, has acted as our chauffeur and has joined us today. And we are especially delighted that Mark has made the effort to come and is obviously enjoying it. Thank you very much.
Oh, good day.
It was only a few hundred yards to where I lived, so it made it easy for Mum to come around and sit in the garden. She was also an ace babysitter, didn't stand for any nonsense whatsoever from the kids, and they loved having her around. And she was very good at Christmas time. We had Caroline's parents round, and they handled that very well. So into 2002, my family was now complete and very noisy. And you can see that Mum loved being right in the middle of things. I'm not quite so sure about Dad. All got a bit like Eton Crescent for him. And Mum was very good with the boys.
As soon as the first, second one's lit, we start singing. Ready, steady, go. Happy birthday
to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Matthew.
Happy birthday to you.
Let's see if he knows what to do now. No, he can't.
Mum's hip operation had been a big success, which meant that she could pop round just about whenever she wanted to. Dad was slowing down, time to give up the car, and also to see his brother Trevor down in Kingsmere, had to drive him down. They're very pleased to see each other, very fond of each other. Poor old Uncle Trevor had Alzheimer's, which is a terrible way to go. Mum liked trips out with Margaret and here with Caroline to Westonbirt. And if you look very carefully here, you'll see her in the background, yes. And she liked reading the paper from cover to cover, the Daily Telegraph, and we're back at Christmas time. Into 2003, Mum saw a lot of both sets of cousins, especially at celebrations like Pizza Express, which we loved.
What do you think, Thomas? Pretty cool, eh?
And Thomas thinks that there's another little tiny bit to touch the ceiling.
Oh no, I don't want to touch that now. I'm leaving that now. It's a tiny.
That's jolly good. And it's pretty. And it's a good design.
Hey, take a picture
It's the
then.
best tower I've ever seen, Matthew. What do you think?
Take a picture.
I am taking a picture. You want to put your on there?
Thomas, do you
Can
think
I
it's the best
see it?
tower
Can I
ever?
see it?
I do.
Can I?
Margaret did a huge amount of work looking after Mum and Dad, ferrying them around, getting shopping, doctor's appointments, and David made a big effort to try and come up at least once a month.
Like that at home, or would you like a sort of significant? In other words, do you want just
No,
one slice from
I
that?
just
or-
want a sliver, thank you, because I've got another one at home. But
So
I
you- so
tell
would
him
that
this is...
not be good to have a lump of it.
It's just a sliver, Caroline, less than we had, because it's John's birthday.
Look, it's my birthday, and this woman here did a very good job 45 years ago, squeezed a nice one out.
Well, you just came, the doctor came, and you'd been born.
Margaret organised a whole load of big birthday parties and celebrations. This was an opportunity for the whole family to get together, which was really nice. Here we are at Margaret's house.
Before the lightning comes, I would like to propose a toast to the ladies present who are having or about to have a birthday. In opposite order of time, Margaret, the hostess,
With the mostess.
by Caroline, who's made us a superb cake,
Yes.
followed by Eleanor, who's graced us with her presents. And for myself, I would say thank you very much, Seamus and Margaret, for organising and getting us all together.
Hurrah! Cheers! Cheers.
Janet and Trevor led busy lives, but they made a big effort to come up to these set-piece occasions like birthdays and Christmas, and it was a wonderful opportunity for the cousins all to kind of catch up with each other. Dad seemed to be happier in Cirencester than he was in Swansea. He'd made friends at Abbey House as an RAF contingency there as well, and it was very social, and Janet had very kindly bought him a mobility buggy to replace his car.
Careful now, Matthew, don't fall.
You'll have guessed that was Christmas time, and here's some nice pictures of Janet and family coming up to see Mum and Dad. Dad was still trying to walk, but the mobility buggy was a big success, really giving him access to just about all of Cirencester and its parks.
Here's Dad, going at speed. Who do you think you are, Sterling Moss?
The whole family enjoyed being out and about on wheels. It's also a year of birthdays and celebrations, and we're going to kick off with my 46th birthday.
Say something to camera. Hello.
Strawberry.
David, say something to camera.
Hello, camera.
Matthew, say hello. Okay, well done. Granny, say hello.
Hello, John.
Daniel, show us your wobbly tooth. Show us your wobbly tooth.
So for my birthday, I got the best possible present, pot of marmalade, homemade by Mum. And then we went out to inspect the tree that she'd got for my 40th birthday. And you know what? It blossoms every year on my birthday. And I always go and see it. And there it is. It looks absolutely gorgeous. We also had a cake. You always have to have a cake. And I think these next three photographs get over Mum's enthusiasm, infectious enthusiasm. She was a great person to have around. Here are Mum and Dad with Trevor Hansel, because all the relatives were going to gather for an enormous Hansel gathering. There must have been 40 or 50 of us. I think it was a big success. Trevor was naturally there with Katie and James. That was very good to see. Dad couldn't make it, but Auntie Janet came round for a couple of days and we had these photographs taken then. So a very successful gathering of the clan. Next up was Mum's 80th birthday. It was a beautiful day and we went to Byberry House, famous for its gardens. Afterwards there was a cake because Dad wasn't able to make it, so time-honoured tradition, we sat down happily and scoffed cake. A few weeks later another cake, this time for Mum and Dad's golden wedding anniversary, that's 50 years. It was another gorgeous day. Margaret did a fantastic job hosting a big meal with a big turnout from relatives, especially the Evans side of the family, particularly good to see, and of course all my siblings were there as well. So I think this was a good time for my parents. It's a nice summer, they were in good health, there was lots for them to do, and Cirencester was a nice town for them to roll around. Next up was Dad's 83rd birthday, which Margaret had organised at the Tunnel House, which is a pub near Cirencester, and Dad liked pubs and liked beer, so we had a nice meal and it was good to get him out, especially now he can't drive. On to Christmas, and we have a good routine now. pre-dinner drinks at Margaret and Seamus's, and then back to the house with David and the Catlins for Christmas dinner. Mum had an old boyfriend, Neville Byrne, who is a fanatical Swansea City fan, and so was David, and he made it his business to convert all his nephews and nieces into Swansea Jacks. This was the boys' first game, and players like Tate and Trundle were playing. Swansea were losing, and in the last minutes they won. It was fantastic, and my boys, including Dan and Al, are lifelong supporters. Mum and Dad could both manage the stairs from their first floor flat, which made it easy for them to come round to spot of lunch.
There you are. Professor CM has on his lovely wife, Gwen. There you are.
Dad didn't particularly care for it, but everybody enjoyed mucking about on his chariot, even Mum. We've got Thomas up here for a little ride, and then Matthew. It never went over, but I think it was quite a close thing. But the boys could always rely on Mum being on their side. My tree's in blossom, which must mean it's my birthday. It also means that it's springtime, so Mum and Dad can come round to sit in the garden. A couple of nice photographs now. I think they both look very well at this point in their life. Lots of trips up to Margaret and Seamus's barn, see the grandchildren, and that meant a trip up in the car, which was, relatively easy getting them in and out. And if Dad wanted to come to visit me, well, that just meant going on his buggy. Probably took him less than 5 minutes. He'd go down Coxwell Street, down the house that I used to live in, and then onto Abbey House. And here you can see him going round and getting to their front door. And then look at this magnificent folding stick. And then up the stairs they would go. That was all very good. Here we have Seamus, Megan, Margaret and Siobhan on their bikes, and then Margaret organised a trip up to Sudeley Castle with Mum and her donkey hat. So taking photographs here in the garden, and Mum's got this kind of crown, I think, on her throne there, looking rather magnificent, if you ask me. And then I took some photographs. I think Anne Parr is buried here, but a very nice time. Beautiful, beautiful gardens. We all enjoyed it. Mum was great friends with all her grandchildren. She made a big fuss of them, and they in turn all loved her. So for Mum it all went around children and grandchildren. It was different for Dad. He was never really in that. How he had 5 children, I've got no idea. But he did love being taken out to the pub. Here he is on his birthday. You can see him going back to his flat, and the flat was lovely. You can see Dad's family clock there and Mum's family dressing table, and they had lovely views over Abbey grounds, so it was a very, very nice place to live. And Dad would pop round on his chariot, come and see us, which was very nice indeed, and so would friends from Eaton Crescent. This is Lawrence Hibbert and family come to see Mum, not me, and Mum had loads of visitors, and here they are at Margaret's on Christmas Day.
What's the top speed of this thing?
It's a very cool machine. 4-wheel drive.
Down hit it. Goes first.
Yeah. What's your best present? Can you remember? Okay, let's see what you're going to do. Reverse or come swing round? Come on then, let's see you go. Here he goes. Go on, Lucky.
Thank you very much indeed for the visit.
Good to see you, Dad. Here he goes. Cheerio.
Christmas over and it's a new year, and that means that Janet's up for one of her visits, which is very nice, and here is Mum in Abbey grounds. And then I took her off to Avebury, and I think what this shows is that Mum is very, very fit and healthy and up for a good walk here with stones. She also loves hugging stones and trees for that matter. And when we finished the avenue, we went for a long walk right up to the top, because what we really wanted to see was Silbury Hill, and there it is, remarkable, bigger and older than the pyramids. And then back down again, and I thought I'd take her off for a pub lunch. You can see her here pointing away happily, and look at the size of these stones on the avenue, and then striding back into the village. Well done, Mum. Oh, look, another cake. So I guess that must be my birthday. Mum and Dad coming around. You can see the daffodils in the background.
Dad, which do you prefer, the food at home or the food at Ashley House?
Look at preferences like that.
Fun?
Some days it's very good at Ashley House.
Oh, you're in deep water now, boy. Say home. That's the right answer.
Well, the home is sometimes good and sometimes not so good. Gets dropped on the floor.
So Dad was never one for light conversation with little children, and nothing much had changed.
Come on, Dad, come on! Catch him up!
So it's springtime and everything's very lush, and Mum and Dad doing an inspection at the bottom of the garden. Mum very excited about the plum tree that she's now given me.
This is a tree that I have bought for John's 48th birthday. And now Mark must have his photograph outside the other tree.
Well, it's around the side, isn't it?
So here we are with the tree which was given to me for my 40th birthday, looking very fine indeed. And then a nice cup of tea in the garden, Dad looking pretty quizzical, and Mum, I think, pretty happy with life at this stage. So David's up and Mum loves a trip out, and we're taking Daniel to Gifford Circus, an old-fashioned circus. And then David took Mum and Dad on to Harry Hare's, which is a restaurant in Cirencester. Parents love going out for meals. They didn't do too much of it when they were bringing up 5 hungry children. I'm not sure if this meal was in celebration of Mum's birthday or Margaret's, because they're both at roughly the same time. But they get on very, very well, so it doesn't really matter. Calcutta Manor has lovely food and also has lovely grounds. So we went for a walk after the meal in the grounds and enjoyed the weather. For his 50th birthday, I got him this magnificent pair of slippers, and here he is talking to Dad, trying to get him to talk to James, so that was never easy. Here we have 3 of the Hansel boys, and then now 4, because we've got the 3 brothers together, which is rare, and then a great group photograph of just about everybody, I think, except Eleanor. Dad's cancer operation had been a success. They successfully removed the cancer, but it did make life difficult for him afterwards. And that meant life was difficult for Mum, who was his carer for the 10 years he was in Abbey Grounds. And I think you can see the strain starting to show on her face here, because it was getting harder and harder to keep him clean. And what that meant was starting to spend respite care in Ashley House, the care home round the corner. You can see here it's at home for birthdays and still able to go back to Abbey Grounds, but life was getting more difficult. Meanwhile, Mum was very nimble, and here she is walking around Abbey Grounds. You can see this from her bedroom window. And Christmas came round soon enough, and she put a huge effort into knitting this jumper for David and a bobble hat as well. Doesn't he look magnificent? Here he is with Seamus, Dad taking photographs, and Siobhan taking the whole thing in. 2007 was Dad's 90th year, and it was really time for him to be almost full-time in Ashley House. He could still get down the stairs pretty easily using both banisters and then down to the car.
You're going quite fast.
Yes, I get to the
So I'm going to fold this thing up.
Hold on, I'll put that in the house.
Okay, I'll sort it. Do you get in the car?
It is bottom joint.
It's only a few hundred yards to Ashley House, but we took Dad there in the car with all his stuff. The primary reason for Dad going in was to be kept clean and safe and comfortable. He had his own room, he didn't go out much, didn't really socialise with everybody else, but I think he was pretty happy there. And the other benefit was that it freed Mum up. She'd been a carer for the last 10 years or so, allowed her to get stuck in with the grandchildren. And on this occasion, we're going to go for a big walk up into Cirencester Park. So Mum was still very fit and healthy. We're talking about a 6-mile walk here, up through past the polo, lots of trees to keep her busy and engaged. And you're talking about, I don't know, 2 or 3 hour walk, and you get to the other end and there's a marvellous pub, and they gave her a glass of champagne because she'd walked so well. So that was a great day out for Mum. Dad was able to get out a lot though. Margaret would come round and whisk him off to all of his appointments, take him for meals, take him up to the barn for lunch, what have you. And if he wanted to come round to our house, then he simply had to get on his buggy and nip on round. Probably took him less than 5 minutes. Can enjoy tea and cake in the garden with Mum, and then sit back and read the newspaper. So yeah, it was good that we were able to get Dad out and about. David was the frequent visitor, up this time I think for my birthday. You can tell that because Mum is standing behind my birthday tree, which is in full blossom, which is marvellous. Then we move on to Mum's birthday, and there she is with the birthday cake, enthusiastically blowing out the candles, and then helping the boys pick the plums from the plum tree which she gave to me. And if you've got a few minutes, please admire the stripes on this lawn. Thank you. Janet and Trevor were less frequent visitors. but everybody made an effort to come up for Dad's 90th birthday. Had a birthday meal round at the house, and Janet's in severe danger here, putting the whole house on fire with the sheer number of candles. You can see the flames licking up, and Dad, I have to say, did a very good job. We then moved on to the standard Hansel photograph with all 7 of us. I think this is the last time we posed like this. We then move on to Thomas's birthday, I think at Harry Hare's. You can see Thomas is kind of growing up there. And here's David with 2 of his nephews, and we finish with Dad on Christmas Day at Margaret's. By 2008, Dad was still pretty sharp mentally, but physically having more and more problems, taking lots of medications like blood thinners and what have you.
Right, I hope it's audible. Try to speak as clearly as possible with plenty of lip motion.
He was on the top floor of Ashley House and had a nice comfortable room, but was still able to get out and come and sit in the garden with Mum, nice cup of tea. Mum was out and about, here babysitting at my house, and in this next photo talking to Siobhan at Margaret's, and Thomas on the same chair. So here are the cousins, Megan and Siobhan talking to Daniel, and now we're moving on to Dad's birthday. Again, there was a good turnout. Margaret put on a magnificent feast. Here's Jeremy and David. Megan busy taking photographs. And you can see the old family table being laid there with Dad. And everybody's pretty jolly, looking forward to the cake. We have to have a cake. And you can see now that, Dad's getting a bit older, but still taking part. This is the same table on Christmas Day. We went over for Christmas drinks with Margaret and Seamus's, and then had David back in the Little Mead for Christmas dinner. 2009 meant that we saw more of Mum and less of Dad, really, as he spent more time in the home. But Mum was a frequent visitor, both here and at Margaret's barn, and she especially liked it when the sun came out and she could sit out in the garden. A huge development in everybody's life was going back to Swansea. Here's Mum at Galini's, and this is the house I eventually bought, and you see there's a modern estate being built where there was a factory. This meant that Mum got to go up to Swansea a lot, and she loved walking on the beaches in particular. I rented for a while, and then Margaret was the first to buy, and you can see us kind of inspecting properties there. It also meant Auntie Maya here, but born just a few months before Mum, opportunity to see old friends and old houses. Went to have a look at Eaton Crescent, meant the kids could play on the beach. Here we are at Caswell, and with Trevor's lot at Oxwich. Trevor had a place a couple of miles away down the beach, so that was a great opportunity for everybody to meet up and then afterwards go off for a nice cold drink at the Oxwich Bay Hotel, which everybody loved. Final picture is of Mum, I'm not quite sure where.
Well, what's your chocolate like?
Very good.
How would you describe it?
Probably can't.
Pardon?
Probably can't.
So here's Mum in her kitchen, very nice kitchen it was too, and she was able to talk to Dad by telephone, especially when the weather was bad, snow on the ground.
The shirts are the correct size,
Well, yes, I think they were all they right.
Dad was still pretty mentally sharp, but things could get confusing at times.
Hello. I've told Dad that you're not coming round because it's too icy.
That's okay.
Where is she? I was thinking about.
The shirts are here, Dad.
I don't know where she is. Is she listening?
No, she's in Abbey Grounds.
Were you sleeping?
Hello.
Hello, Mum. Can you hear us?
Yes, I can, but I'm saying hello all the time.
Well, no point. Abbey Grounds is where you're staying, isn't it?
Abbey House.
Abbey House, just down the road, Dad.
Yeah.
Dad's room had all sorts of mementos. You can see Skip the dog, his Fitzwilliam shield. I think David is in there, family photographs. I'll let him explain how it was all done.
They were printed in enlarged on typing paper.
Well, the photographs that are over there?
Yes.
When did you do them?
Well, at Christmas.
Christmas comes round again. You can see David here with Matthew and myself with a silly hat on. Megan and Siobhan and Seamus, Margaret all came round to visit. You can see the ice on the ground. And it was getting to the stage where it was best really for Dad to stay in Ashley House. Margaret organised for champagne and we all went up for Christmas drinks in the morning with Dad. I think it went very well and I think he was more comfortable now staying in the house. It meant that Mum could relax. Here she is looking very smart if you ask me. coming round for Christmas dinner, which was very nice at the Little Mead. You can see here with the boys there, typical Christmas feast, and here we all are sat around the table.
Daniel's the first one to get married here. All the girls will be coming around
I'm going to win on the eating thing.
That thing is remarkable.
I'm going to win on the eating thing because I've got the...
Boxing Day saw the Swans playing at Reading, so we went up with Trevor's family, Katie and James, Jill and Trevor, and I had a great time. It was a very cold winter in 2010, and Dad had got to the point where he hardly ever left the care home. His medical problems were starting to mount up, especially with his circulation. And you can see from these photographs that the trip from Abbey Grounds to Ashley House was a very difficult one. So to have to visit Dad basically in the home. This was a very difficult time for Mum, but life has to go on, and she would still see her at the house, and Margaret was still taking her out and about.
Listen, say something very funny and witty.
Oh, I think you're my...
His circulation was becoming a real cause of concern by his birthday, but he particularly enjoyed this card. Dad, happy 93rd birthday from your 3 sons, Trevor and family, John and family, David and Swansea City Football Club. Dad's circulation continued to decline, and by the time Christmas came, we were starting to have to look at a decision, either major medical intervention, such as an amputation, or moving Dad onto palliative care. The family took a decision, discussed it with the GP, the consultant discussed it with Dad, and the decision was made. At the same time, Margaret had broken her neck, a really serious thing, and Mum and I had taken her back to hospital after she had been let out. But that was a close run thing, and at the same time, my marriage was going downhill. So we did as best as we could at Christmas time. The family gathered, and Christmas was at the Little Mead, but it was Dad's last Christmas. So it was a real time of change. I had rented down in Swansea for 3 summers. Margaret and Seamus had bought a place in 2010, and I was looking to buy somewhere to escape from my failed marriage in 2011. Mum was an enormous help here, took her down, looked at houses, made decisions, and Mum always loved walking by the side of the sea. So although it was a tricky time, good things were happening as well, and the decision was made to buy Swansea. These are my last photographs of Dad, though I don't really consider them as sad ones. Dad understood the consequences of moving on to palliative care and took it very stoically. And at the same time, we said to each other all that we needed to say. Everything was said that needed to be said. The other interesting thing was that towards the end they put him on morphine, and I came in a day or so afterwards and asked him how he was. He said, I feel great. I said, well, what do you mean? And he went through his body from top to bottom, explaining all the aches and pains that he had and how they all went away. It was a nice moment. And Dad had a peaceful death. Mum and I were there late into the evening, kind of holding his hand and what have you. And he finally slipped away in the morning. Dad's memorial service was at Kemble Village Hall, and there were an awful lot of people there, and a table which had artefacts from his life. Some of those were about the institutions he'd been to: Bedford School, the RAF, Cambridge, Manchester and Swansea universities. Some of them were about his achievements, whether it be in music or photography, how the brain sees, how the brain learns, how the brain sees patterns, his early work in computers, and of course his world famous work on ESP. But the thing that defined him most, the most important thing in his life that I think made him the happiest, was his marriage to my mother. They really were yin and yang, chalk and cheese, perfectly complementary to each other, and I think they had a very happy marriage.
You're on video, say something witty.
Can't think of anything.
Say something nice about your lovely wife. Mum, say something nice about your lovely husband.
Oh, he's beautiful. He's wearing a Bedford School blazer.
Is he?
It's a Bedford School.
That's magnificent.
And he's wearing it because it's very light to wear. And because he can do the buttons up.